Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. In the digest, we're continuing our series of Severe Weather Awareness Week happening across Wisconsin. Today, we're going to be talking about flooding. And as a reminder, all of the stuff we talked about this week, it is up at the National Weather Service Milwaukee Sullivan's website, readywisconsin.com. They all have it. And the information is transparent, so you can get out there, read it, do some more investigating on your own. I'm only sharing the general tips that they have here to bring awareness to this. And reminder that tomorrow on the show, we're going to have Joe Polvemacher as we work through the tornado drill. And we'll talk about that at the end of this segment. And on Friday, we're going to have Tim Halbach from the National Weather Service Milwaukee Sullivan office. He'll be here on the show to discuss everything we've talked about this week, and love catching up with Tim. So excited. That's when I nerd out. I mean, that's just the way it is. And if you know me, you know I love weather. Let's get into this, though. And talking about flooding, we're going to start with Wisconsin flood fatalities. Just how serious this is. It is. It's a mess, right? So starting with this and how the chart breaks down during a flood, water levels and flow speeds can quickly change. You are the safest by staying home indoors or seeking higher ground if shelter isn't available. 76.9% of Wisconsin flood fatalities occur when people go to flooded areas. They go to flooded areas. So as far as the fatalities break out here, unknown at 7%, swimming fatalities at 7.7%, boating at home. And then you get into that driving piece, excuse me, it jumps up 61.5%. And this photo here does justice. This is on Madison's west side. And in fact, that day of this was the major flood a couple of years ago. I drove through this road an hour before this happened. 1 hour. The intersection that was back towards Menards at here on Mineral Point Road was already underwater. But when I went through here, the water was just coming up, and this was taken just an hour later. That's how quickly it happened. And that was record fall, right? That was the 100-year flood, if you will, that happened, that we don't ever plan on seeing, right? But it happens, and it happens quickly. So let's talk about some of the statistics that we know. First off here, just in flooding in general, in the past 30 years, flooding has typically been the number one thunderstorm-related killer in the United States. The number of flooded-related deaths goes up and down each year. However, in recent trend has been down, thank goodness. For the period of 1988 through 2012, there was an average of 80 fatalities each year due to a direct result of flash flood events across the United States. And in 2012, there were 28 flood-related fatalities in the U.S. It happens. And it's preventable, all preventable, right? So what can we do? Well, let's take a look. Flash flood can occur as a result of heavy rains falling over a short period of time, usually only in a few hours or less. They can be caused by ice jams or rivers or even a dam or levee break. The sudden buildup of water can cause a large crest of water to quickly move quickly downstream, wiping out almost everything in its path. Flash floods are capable of rolling boulders, tearing out trees, and destroying buildings quickly with little or no warning. Flooding is considered one of the most common and widespread of all natural disasters. It can occur just about anywhere. Wisconsin is certainly not immune from this type of disaster. We've seen it, folks. We know it's true. Wisconsin has many landmarks, both man-made and natural, that make these areas more susceptible to flash flooding. For instance, Wisconsin had many old earthen dams within are getting weaker every year. If one of these dams were to break, the areas around them would be threatened by flash flooding. For safety's sake, I like that. For safety's sake, find out if there's an earthen dam in your area. Do you even know if that exists in your area? You should check that out. Flash flooding due to ice jams. Well, I don't really have that around here, but maybe you have property or something that's on somewhere where this could build up at, right? Is common in Wisconsin since Wisconsin usually has a long, cold winters and rivers almost always freeze over. A sudden wall of water releases the ice jam and breaks up during the thaw can be extremely unpredictable. It can happen very quickly. We've seen some of this happen, and a lot of time you see this where you have ice that has built up and pushed onto people's property. We get that video every single year, and you see it on newscasts and stuff, but it moves quickly. Not good. All right, moving on. You've got flash floods kill dozens of people and their vehicles each year. We saw the statistic in Wisconsin. Driving is at 61.5%. And as little as 6 inches of fast moving water can move your vehicle, and 2 feet of water is enough to float your vehicle. Avoid flooded bridges and never drive through flooded roadways. Cannot stress this enough. Turn around, don't drown. Be especially cautious at night when it is harder to recognize flood dangers. And then that big flood that happened a couple years ago, that's what happened. We got in the nighttime and there were a ton of rescues. People were, you can't see the water, right? You can't see the road ahead of you and you end up in the water. But you should never, ever take a chance in flooded water. What happens if you get in the water and you get sucked away? Yeah, and you might not be able to get rescued. I mean, it's that quick, folks. Flash flood is headed your way. You may only have a few seconds to save your life. Abandon all personal property and flee to higher ground if a flash flood is approaching. Any delay, even for seconds, could be the difference between life and death, which is so true. Turn around, don't drown. If there was one thing today that you take away from this, it's turn around, don't drown. Angel, let's get to the watches and warnings as we have them. So a flash flood watch is issued when flooding is possible. So we know what's going to happen. The watch is put out. A lot of time we'll get a lot of rain. Like we've been getting a lot of rain here, but if we were due up for some more rain and the ground's already soaked, then we're probably going to get a flash flood watch for sure. Flash flood warning. This happens, means flooding is happening or it's about to happen. Move to higher ground immediately. Never drive or walk through flooded waters. So flash flood watch, be prepared. Flash flood warning, you got to take action. And a lot of times you get the phones that go off for flash flooding. And like I said, you don't know if you live in an area, a low-lying area where there is water potentially, or water building up, this pertains to you. If you're planning on traveling, then you need to reconsider because flash flooding could occur in any of these things. We're getting better and about where the warnings are going up and where the flooding's happening, but flash flood warnings are serious. To get more information on flood safety and awareness, head to floodsafety.noaa.gov. So I almost said that backwards. And you can find more information there. National Weather Service, Margie Sullivan. That's where we pulled this information, which is part of all of their presentation this week of Severe Weather Awareness Week. And let's talk about building that kit. As a reminder, we want you to build the kit, the safety kit. ReadyWisconsin.gov has got you covered. Know your designated shelter and where it's located whether you're at home, work, or school. Be ready if a tornado warning is issued, or in this case, flash flood warning. Where are you going to go? Do you have a plan? It's time to make one. Have multiple ways to receive those weather warnings as the weather approaches. Outdoor warning sirens, NOAA radio, smartphone app. Use them all. Have them all ready for you because you're making life-saving decisions during tough times. So you want to have as much warning as possible and keep up to date with the daily forecast. And make sure you create a emergency kit at home. You can find ways to build those kits. ReadyWisconsin.wi.gov has that information. And reminder, tomorrow is a way to put your put your plan into action. 1:45 p.m. and at 6:45 p.m. there'll be statewide tornado drills. It's a great way to practice it at your work, school, home, business during each time. And as far as I can tell, I don't believe there'll be any severe weather tomorrow, so these should be going off as promised. But if they do delay, it'll be pushed back to the 8th. But I don't think we'll have that. But either way, practice that. And tomorrow we'll have Joe Povemacher on the show as we practice it here at City Hall. We'll be interviewing him live. It'll be like a look-alive, we call it, but we'll interview him during that and have that for you at Talking Fitchburg on Thursday night. All right, that does it for me. Coming up next, we open up our guest segment. We're checking in with the Department of Ag, Trade, Consumer Protection, and we're talking about charity scams. That's all next right here on Talking Fitchburg.